Hey y'all, welcome to my page. I hope you guys are staying blessed and highly favored. As you can see, sorry I'm vlogging from the car. I'm on my way to go pick up my daughter from school. Oh, of course, I feel like it's raggedy. I think I need to get an oil change. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I need to get an oil change. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that this weekend. Give me an appointment. Yeah, go online, get me an appointment, and get an oil change. I gotta write that in my book. Sorry about that. I'm trying to make a mental note of something I need to do. But anyways, thank you guys for coming on my page. I just wanted to do a little vlogging while I was in a car and kind of talk about something that's kind of been on my mind and like see what y'all think about it. So, I am a single mom of three adult daughters that are all over the age of 20, and I am a newly grandmother to a beautiful granddaughter. Um, I have raised my children myself for at least the last 10 years because their dad was viciously murdered. So it's been me and them. I do have family and an amazing family unit and family circle. But like anybody else, we all have our issues and our drama and our problems, but we love each other nonetheless, and we'll do anything we can to help each other get through it. So um, that's just that. I have a great support system. Even going through all of those things, like with their dad being viciously murdered. Before he was murdered, my youngest daughter, at 6 years old, was viciously mauled by a bull mastiff where her skull was ripped off her head. She had over 6 surgeries. The first surgery, she had over 100 staples and stitches at 6 years old. On her very first day of kindergarten, she was playing in the backyard with her sister. I was at Zumba and my mom was home with them. And yeah, the dog got out and came into our yard, and that kind of was that. But, anyways, so we did what we needed to. We got through that. Um, I shortly after that found out that I had a brain tumor on my pituitary part of my brain. And I just had a lot of gastro issues. So I've got a lot of chronic medical issues. I have something called gastroparesis. So I have a feeding tube, which is a GJ tube, and I also have a PICC line. I had a port, but I now have a PICC line where I have to do infusions at home, which is IV hydration therapy, basically, something like that, to help with my hydration because I get very dehydrated from the condition that I have that causes me to vomit and have to use the restroom a lot. So that's basically that. Well, my youngest daughter out of my three daughters, is very similar to me. Um, but she also is a portion of nonverbal. And she has some medical problems, some delays, some just different problems like autism, different problems. So I'm like very specific about her and making sure she's very well taken care of because I've almost lost her a few times. Um, she has a G tube as well because she has gastroparesis, but hers had to be placed at 16 years old because she ate a bad salad from a fast food restaurant that I shall not name, and she had gotten a strawberry salad, and something was wrong with the salad that ended up giving her some kind of poisoning. I think it was like food poisoning or something, and she ended up going septic. So we didn't know until it was almost too late, and she almost died. And she ended up spending 3 months in the hospital. She was in there from like October to December, like after Christmas. Actually, she got out the day after Christmas. In between that time, we went through quite a bit. She had PICC lines, multiple of them, but they had to be removed because she ended up developing massive clots at the tip of the PICC lines both times, and actually had to go on injections every 12 hours of blood thinner to help because she was throwing clots. So then we found out that she just could not have those type of things in her body, because if she did, she would just throw clots every time at the end of it, no matter what it was. So her doctor and I had discussed it, and we felt that, giving her a feeding tube would be better. So that's what we did. And she's now 20 years old and she still has that feeding tube, and we haven't had any more clots. So it definitely was the best decision for my daughter, because we have figured out from the sepsis, it had ate her stomach lining, which your stomach lining can grow back. But it had ate hers to the point where no matter what she ate, she wasn't gaining any weight, and eating just wasn't of no nutritional value. Like she was just losing weight. So the only way she would either maintain or gain weight was like me. Well, like me now, because she got her too before I got mine. So she got her tube. They explained to us the situation with her being able to eat by mouth, and they wanted her to do it so that she would not be scared of food and develop a negative reaction to food, because if you just stop eating abruptly and you don't do it anymore, you could be, I guess you can get a fear of doing it, which at that time I couldn't understand that, but I can now. Like, I could definitely totally see that from experiencing it myself. I can definitely see where they would be right with that. Um, but anyway, so it was like, that's how they explained it to us. So she's been on a feeding tube and she's now 20. Like I said, that was placed when she was 16. It was actually her birthday's November 11th, and her G2 was actually placed on December 22nd. So it's placed like 4 days before, 3 days before Christmas, I think, or 4 days, somewhere in there. 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 3 days before Christmas. So that's why we were still in there until after Christmas, because we were trying the PICC lines, but like I said, she would keep throwing clots. So that's why we had to figure something out, because she was on something called TPN first, where it's what they feed. It's like a formula that goes into your IV, but it's not really good for you. It's very harsh on your veins, but if you have no other way to get nutrition, that is a way that they will do. So we tried that first. But then, like I said, the blood clot issue, so we switched over to the feeding tube. So she's now 20, and she's still on the feeding tube because she's still not able to gain weight by mouth, even though your stomach can regenerate. You can basically grow back, even though it's destroyed. I was told by her doctors that you can still grow, or your stomach lining can grow back, or something like that, something to that effect. So we're still very hopeful that one day, she won't need the tube, even though she does right now. We are very hopeful that that's not going to be like her always and forever, that maybe it's just her right now, which is fine. Because like I said, she also has something called gastroparesis, like me. Now, hers and mine's are at, with gastroparesis, you could be at two different, it could be fast or it could be slow. Like, meaning your stomach can move where food goes straight through you, or your stomach can move where it can be like a second behind, 2 seconds behind, 3 seconds behind, 4 seconds behind, a minute behind. Like, it can run by that, basically, is what I've learned over the almost 20 years that I've had gastroparesis, because I've had it for 20 years and I've had about 5 surgeries and none of them worked. So, yeah, there's that. But I'm not doing any more surgeries, so I'm good with it. Unless I needed to medically stay alive, yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing it. No. Nope, 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 nope. I don't want to. I've had, I think, over 20 surgeries in my life. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, well over 20. So, no, I'm good. No, thank you. But anyways, back to my daughter. So we found out that she was going to need it, but we were hoping it was just going to be for a period of time. She was diagnosed with something called cyclic vomiting at like 3. I delivered her at 33 weeks, and she was in a NICU for about 6 weeks. She came home with a nurse. But she always had like vomiting issues even as a baby. Like she would projectile vomit. Like I never seen a kid projectile vomit like her. Like it would go straight in the air across the room and it would be so much vomit. So from the birth, she spent a lot of time in children's hospital because she would have these crises where she would just vomit for days. And she would have to go in and get help, be replenished and get help. And we would spend between 3 to 7 or 3 to 8 days in there at a time. And it would be like every couple months that we would go through that. And it's been like that all her life. She's still like that to this day. Like with our most recent crisis in December of 2023. So, well, that's our most recent hospitalization. She's had crises since then, but ones that required her to be in there for an extended period of 7 to 8 days. That was in December, and we were in there till after Christmas. So we went in on the 22nd, and we didn't get in. We didn't get out until like the 26th or the 27th, somewhere in there. So we still deal with it to this day. We are going through like genetic testing and all of that because there's like a host of other problems that we've learned that she's either developed over the years or she's had, and now since the septic, I guess she's always had them is what I was explained to. I don't know if I understand this, but what was explained to me by one of the specialists, I don't remember which one, but one of them, I can't remember if it's the Center for Disease Specialists or if it was, what are they called? The blood doctor. I can't remember. It's one of them. But, or even the pain specialist. I'm not sure, but it's one of them. They explained to me that she could have always had these conditions in her body. Like some of them, we were dealing with actively, and then other conditions, it was like they developed after the sepsis. So what they explained to me was that some of these conditions could have been dormant in her body and not active, and the sepsis opened them up and made them become active in her body to start playing out and make her sick. They said that that can happen to anyone, that we all could be a carrier of something, but just because we're a carrier doesn't mean it's active in our body and it's working in our body. So they were saying that the sepsis could have changed something with her body and opened her up to activate whatever was dormant. I'm not sure how that goes, but that's how it was explained to me. Um, so that's where all of these other things that are a bit more harsher came in to play. So it's just like always been like issues with her medically. She's always had she's had a hole in her heart, so she has PVCs where she has extra heartbeats, and she has asthma, and of course allergies, all that crap. She's always had that, and she still had like a very healthy childhood in a sense of I never allowed her to feel like, oh, well, I'm just sick, I can't do anything. I didn't teach her that. I didn't raise her to be that way. I raised her to know that, yes, she is different from the other children, and she may not be normal or regular, but who really is. I raised her to understand that, yes, she might be different, and she can still do the same thing that everybody else does. She just may have to do it differently. She may have to add some things to it to be able to do it, or get a little bit of extra help to be able to do it. She just has to learn whatever it takes for her to be able to do the things that she wants to do and do it, and have the freedom to not be ashamed to, if you need help, so what, you need help. Oh, well, so that doesn't mean anything because you need a little bit more help. There's nothing wrong with that. And the right people won't have a problem with helping you. They won't make fun of you. They won't do any of that. They would love to help you. That's what I've learned. Good people are people who help others, who love to get in there and serve and give back. And I know that because I'm not perfect, but I am one of them type of people. I love to give back and I love to help. And I don't need anything in return to help. If I'm going to help you, I'm going to do it because I want to. So, and I wasn't always like that. That's something that I had to go through a whole lot of things to learn that, because that wasn't always the case for me. I wasn't always there. I was once on matching people's energy, and I still struggle with that. But I am getting better, and that is something that is what I once was. So, I just teach my kid that she can do whatever she wants. Like my kid did cheerleading, she did tumbling, she did round off back handsprings is how far she got in her tumbling. But she did her splits, all of that stuff. Like she was holding girls up. She tried flying. Um, she tried things like she did dance. I didn't do like heavy on sports where she can injure her head because that wasn't safe for her and she wasn't clear to do those things. But I tried to do stuff like dance and sports, and she likes to act and sing and stuff like that. So we did stuff like that. On top of, we took trips. My kids have traveled all over the United States. I did not get a chance to take them out of the country, not yet, but you're never too old. And just because my children are young adults don't mean they're not my children. So I can take them out of the country whenever. So I'm working on that. That is something I'm looking to do by the end of this year. Um, and I'm believing God to make sure that it's a possibility for me to be healthy enough and them too, and finances to be where they need to so that we are able to do that. But needless to say, it's been rough, but I let my daughter still live and have fun and enjoy life. And she has done that. She's got to travel the states with cheerleading and just travel the states, period. We've got to go to all types of amusement parks because she loves amusement parks. And we do it. And she's got to go to beaches. We do the beaches. Like we do all that stuff. You know, we do little shopping trips. Like we do a little bit of everything. Um, like what we can, whatever we can do to enjoy. And sometimes if we want to just get out of the state and we might not even be up to doing a whole lot, but just staying in the hotel room, we do that. So we still try to enjoy life even through everything that we're dealing with and being sick. Does it make it a little bit more difficult when we travel? Yeah, it definitely does, but it doesn't mean that we can't do it. It just means that we may have to do things a little sooner. Like if I know I'm going on a trip, I got to prepare sooner than most because I got to make sure that I have my medical stuff that I need, plus the stuff that I want, plus backup in case something doesn't work with my medical. And I don't have to just do that for myself. I also have to do that for my daughter. And for myself, I currently am on almost 20 meds a day. And my daughter is on like 9 or 11. But I am trying to look into some things going into 2024 that we can eat, um, and fruits and juicing and different things that can help. We already do eat relatively healthy because of my allergy. I am anaphylaxis allergic to corn and honey, and I can't have any form of corn or any form of honey, and that's corn syrup, cornstarch, any of that. If it has any product of corn or byproduct or connected to it, I cannot have it. My throat closes, my tongue swells out, my mouth. I get hives. I can't even like be in the room for popcorn, so I can't have that. And it's the same thing with honey and like a bunch of medications. So like a bunch of different antibiotics and stuff like that. So I try to be very, very careful because of my allergy with what I eat. And because of that, my daughter is like, now I fell down because my mama taught me how, but my daughter is like more of a chef. Like she can cook. Um, like I don't know if you've heard that saying that like sometimes with disabled children, they're a little bit more gifted in other areas where they may lack in some areas. And one of my daughter's gifts and talents is she can cook, but her cooking is not like regular cook. Like I regular cook every day, like American, and I do some Italian and do some different type of stuff. But my daughter's like a chef type cook, like a fancy restaurant like Eddie V's or one of them. She can cook like that, and it's very delicious. And I'm not biased because I'm her mom. She's actually coming out with her own cookbook. She's worked on her own coffee drinks, and different type of mocktail drinks. She's worked on different type of baked goods that have no form of corn in them whatsoever or honey, and they're still like very yummy and relatively healthy, and some unhealthy, um, but it doesn't have any sort of corn or honey in it. So it's a little It's a little bit better. Or like it usually is like gluten free and all of that stuff. The only thing it's not is like dairy free, but it's usually like gluten free. Um, she also like her cookbook, her seasonings, like uh, and something else. I'm sorry, when it comes to my brain, I'll remember and let you guys know. But she's very very excellent at it, and she's cooked for several people. She's actually going to do like a little pop up shop of cooking, and we're going to invite family and friends and different people to come out and try a couple different of her cook recipes that are going to be in her cookbook, and recipes that'll potentially be on her food truck because eventually she wants to get like a food truck and a restaurant and stuff like that. Her food truck, she wants to mainly do like sweets, like pastries and coffees, stuff like that. But that's her goal. And I'm just, working on helping her, just hone her gift and get better at it and be more creative and supporting her and helping her make network and get out here and make the connections and helping her write her book because I wrote mine. I'm already an author, and I self-published, so I'm helping her get her recipe book out there, and just stuff like that. I'm like very, very proud of her, and teaching her and showing her that she can still have a very, very enjoyable, wholesome life, um, as everyone else, like she wants, just her way, and teaching her how to maintain her medical, which, yes, her medical is a lot because it's a lot for me. So I know it's a lot for her to manage. But she does an amazing job. Like she holds her, she does the best she can to hold herself down. But and honestly, with both of us being as sick as we are, we take care of each other. To be honest with you, like I hold her down, and I know her medical in my sleep like the back of my hand. Where I slack for myself sometimes, but she holds me down. She knows my medical like the back of her hand. Like we take care of each other. Like she knows every medicine, every color. We have medical books which I'm actually coming out with one. I'm publishing one. You guys will be able to see where in my medical book I have my pill colors, the shapes, the type, the milligram, the name. So if something happens to me or I become incapacitated and my family may not know, and we need to get that information quickly, you can actually just access my book and give it to the doctor, and they'll be able to know what I'm allergic to, what I had, what I've been dealing with for the past couple of days, what was my reaction to it, my symptoms, how I felt getting up, laying down, was I vomiting, what did it look like, how long, just stuff like that. Like that's all the different things that I like to keep in my medical book with like dates and times and signatures. My medicine is done. We do like multiple signatures because of the medicine that I have and the type of medicine and how much we try to keep closely on that, and it's very very beneficial to my health that we have this book. And my mom, shout out to her, she's a real one. She's the one who helped me actually come up with the idea and the concept of this book to start it, because she was just like, Ebony, you should have you a book where you just write everything down, write your pills down and what you're on. That way if something happens to you, we know what you're on. And it turned out to be like a really good idea to write it down, and I didn't even realize in writing it down, I'm a detail person. Like I love details because I sometimes forget with that mom brain. So I like to write stuff down where I could see it, touch it, feel it, read it. It helps me remember it. So I like to write down full detail. So when I need to remember something, I can go back to that date, that specific date and time, that emotion, what I was going through, what I was feeling. So I could be like, okay, I remember and I did this. So that's why I kind of do my book like that, because it's very beneficial for me. And it's just an added bonus that it also helps my nurse and my doctors and my specialists, because they're able to have in full detail in real time what's going on and be able to address my medical concern like that. So it helps me, and I just want to be able to provide something like that with everybody. And hey, if it helps you, it helps you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But give it a try. It works for me. I love it. And so does my medical team. They love it, especially with all the different type of conditions I deal with. It helps make my medical run a lot more smooth. So it's just very beneficial for me. And I also implemented the same thing for all of my children. So my kids have the same thing. My eldest and my middle daughter, they theirs isn't as hefty because they don't have as many medical issues. But my baby, she's more like me, so hers is more hefty. Basically, it just has a lot more stuff in it, more in detail. It's written in more often than the other twos. Theirs is like few and far in between because they're more, their health is more normal. It's not like chronic, you know. So, we just kind of like figure it out. I will say, I don't know about any other parents, but I can speak for myself. It is definitely super, super hard. Like some days it is frustrating, it is tiring, and it doesn't make me less of a mom for saying it. And some days I resent it, and that doesn't make me less of a mom for saying it either, because it is super, super hard. It's hard, one, to take care of a very sick child, and two, to do it by yourself, and three, to do it while you are sick yourself. It's very hard. It's very, very hard. And it's very frustrating. Like, but I thank God for Jesus that I have him, and I thank God that I can pray. I can talk to the Lord. He can give me grace and mercy and understanding and help to get through it, as well as I'm grateful for my therapist and my pastor and my host of people that I have in my life that helps me get through it. My entire community of people, community of family, that I can call and talk to at any time to really like talk me through it, because that is honestly how I get through it. My support groups, because I am in multiple support groups, and I love it because it helps me understand, some of the things that I'm going through. There are people out there that are just like me, going through the same thing that I'm going through, and we just have to take it one day at a time to get through it. So I just am like getting through it the best way that I can. Some days I cry it out, honestly, because I have to. Some days I do, some days I don't. Um, but I know it's all going to be all right in the end. And I'm teaching my daughter how to be the best that she can in this ugly and cruel world. It is definitely that. And I want to teach her that it's never too late to still like do the things you want to do, or chase after your dreams, or, you know, just put yourself out there. Like for me, I just put my book out last year, as well as I got my brokerage license, and I just celebrated 2 years of having my own LLC, owning my own business, and doing it while doing what I'm doing now, going through what I'm going through. I'm a survivor of sepsis 4 times, and as most recently as having it in January. So, and I'm still doing everything I can. And on top of that, I'm going to school for medical management to get my degree in that. Um, and just, doing the best I can to, just share with the world my medical journey, and teach people what to look for and how to be safe and how to keep themselves covered, and why it's important to go to the doctors before it's too late, why it's important to look at those little things that may seem little but may be something, bigger than it actually is. And if you just look into it right when it's something small, maybe it can never even turn into something big, and you don't have to suffer for a long period of time. Because something I experienced is, when I was a younger, I just was not smart. I didn't use my brain. I was really, really sick in my early teenage years, in my early 20s. I found out when I was 20, before my 21st birthday. I found out in December, the year I was 20 in December, that no, the year I was 20 in November, and my 21st birthday was January. I found out that I had the brain tumor, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I just completely ignored it. And I got really, really sick, and they gave me a year to live. And that's when I realized, because I was a young mom, I had 3 kids at this time. I ignored it for like 2 years, and I got really, really sick to the point where I felt like I had cancer. My hair was falling out. I had lost all this weight. I was throwing up. I was hardly able to walk. I was in severe pain. Like, it was just a lot. So the doctor told me if I didn't get it together, they gave me like a year to live, and I was just not here for that. So um, I did everything in my power to get it together and take better care of myself. I promised my family, myself, I would take better care of myself. But also at that time, I didn't have health insurance. I was working and I did not qualify for welfare insurance, and I could not afford to pay for it through my job with three young kids at that time, as well as, like I said, I was a single mother. So I could not afford health insurance for myself, but my kids qualified for insurance. I just didn't. And my kids qualified for something called CHIP. So they were getting CHIP. I just couldn't afford insurance for me because of my medical. Well, after that, so that's the other reason I wasn't getting it look into, because I couldn't afford it and I didn't want to just rake up a whole bunch of medical bills. So I would only go to the hospital when I got really, really sick. Honestly, what it took for me to get it together is I went blind because of the tumor. It was pressing on my optic nerve, from what the doctor said to me. It was pressing on my optic nerves, and the pressure that it was pressing on it caused it to press, I guess, behind my eyes somewhere, and it temporarily caused me to go blind. So I had been rushed to the hospital, and I was temporarily blind for like 3 days. Once they got whatever to go down, they were giving me all these steroids and different things through IV, and they got the swelling in my brain to go down. I was able to see again. So after that, that's when I was like, okay, you can't play with this. Like, you got to get it together. You got to figure this out. I know you don't have insurance, but you got to like figure it out. And we were like trying to get my pills for the tumor out of Mexico. Like, we were trying to figure it all out. We didn't do it, but I definitely looked into it because I heard it was more affordable. But we didn't do it because I didn't feel safe with it. But we were just paying out of pocket for my pills, and my pills at that time were like $400 and something for 12 pills, and I needed 30. Like, it was crazy. So it was a lot. And then I finally was able to get some insurance some years later, maybe like 2 or 3 years later. And I stayed on top of the doctors, and I started having like these debilitating migraines. And yeah, I just kind of went downhill from there. Now, mind you, I'm going through all of this while having my sick daughter that I just told you about before this. All of this is transpiring all at the same time. Their dad was murdered. I had to take care of her. The incident with her dog, her being sick from birth, living in and out of the hospital. And I also had two other children. She was just my baby. So I still had my middle and my oldest daughter that I was taking care of while I was also doing all this while working. So I had an amazing support team. Like, me and my mom went through a lot when I was younger, but we were working it out as I got older and became a young adult. So, because my daughter was so sick, my daughter went to daycare on 2 occasions. The first time she went as a baby, somebody brought their child there sick and gave my daughter scarlet fever. And my mom quit her job that day. She retired and never went back and kept my daughter. And then she wanted to pick up a part-time job. So I started her back up a second time. And there was this little baby that was bullying her and taking her binky. And my baby got into a fight and beat the little baby up for taking her binky. And it was a whole issue. So my mom was like, nope, I don't need it that bad, and started keeping her again. My baby never seen the inside of a daycare again. My family, we rotated, and they kept her, and that allowed me to work because I still worked. Even with being sick, I worked. I retired about 10 years ago. Before that, I worked 2 jobs at all times from the age of 15. I worked 2 jobs, and I had my own little side hustle of babysitting. So I was doing whatever I can to make sure that I had money, to make sure we had whatever. I didn't stop working until after their dad was murdered. My kids needed me more full on, and I had reached a point of living in the hospital at 14-day increments at a time. So I wasn't even able to do it anymore. So I had to stop and figure it out from there. And that's kind of what I've been doing ever since. So I've been doing that and raising my children, making sure my daughters still like enjoyed. All of my daughters experienced different camps. They experience going all over the states, in different states. They experience in being different sports, volleyball, um, definitely lots of cheer. All of my children did cheer. My middle daughter did all-star rec, competitive school, all at the same time. My other two daughters just did rec cheer. Um, my middle daughter did softball. She did fast pitch for a while. And my eldest did some volleyball, some cheer. So my kids, I still tried to make sure that they had um, a decent life. Like after Dad was murdered, we lived in McKeesport, which hometown where I grew up, but not the best area. A lot of shooting. So after that, I really wanted to do something different and get my kids out of there. They were really traumatized that their dad was murdered. So I moved them to a whole different county, which was like 45 minutes away from where we were, going like the opposite direction, and it wasn't really a commonly African American area, and it wasn't diverse at all, but it had a very excellent school district. So we moved. It was just too bad my kids were having breakdowns at school because the news was like showing up asking questions, especially during the trial period. There was just like no respect. So other kids was asking questions, and it just made my kids have a lot of breakdowns. Like it made them suffer even more about what was going on with their dad. And we just needed a break, and we needed to start over. So I saved every penny that I could. I saved my income tax money that year, plus I saved money from working, and we completely started over. We left everything and started over completely in a whole other county, and we've been in the county ever since. Um, we sometimes go back home, but that's temporary and more so to visit. But yeah, we've been here ever since, and definitely was different. It was a different change for my kids, educational wise. They struggled for like the first 2 years because the education is so different. It's night and day. And the diversity, they went from being in all African American classes, pretty much, or diversity, or like big diversity, where they came from. It was super super diverse. You would see all nationalities, all colors, all nationalities. So it was definitely a big difference to go from that to being the there only being five African American children in the entire district, and I had three of them. So it was like a culture shock for a little bit for everybody. It was definitely like a culture shock for everybody, for them and us. And we definitely had a lot of racist and discriminatory incidences with the children, and the parents, and the teachers. Um, I've had quite a few instances where, I had to let them know what it was. Like, no, we ain't doing that, period. And that's not what time we on, and that's not, you don't want to go down that side. You don't want to see that side of me. So let's just not do that. But I definitely taught my children to be the bigger person and make sure they take care of themselves and stand their ground. If they need to defend. If they are able to be the bigger person and walk away, be the bigger person and walk away. It's not that real. But if they must defend at all costs. So that's just what it is. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I raise my kids my way. You raise yours your way, and hey, there's no wrong way. Um, well, I take that back. There is wrong ways if you're meaning harm or causing harm and doing abuse. That's a whole nother story. But we all learn, and grow, and that's that. But yeah, I still, try to teach my kids how to still live life even with everything that's going on, and like still try to figure out how to do it. I feel like, a lot of people, I don't know, don't understand or feel like, how can I still be happy or smile with going through everything that I've been through? and everything that I'm yet going through. And I feel like, but why not smile? Because it takes more energy to be angry. And I barely have energy, so why use it in being angry? And why not just trying to find the good? And after experiencing near death experiences multiple times within a 2 year period, you really learn to appreciate life in its entirety every day, in every way, every chance that you get. And when you fall, you learn to get up as quick as you can and move on. Because life is literally just too stinking short, like it is. And when you've learned that from losing people that you really, really love, and almost losing yourself, or almost losing someone, or a child that you have that you're really, really close to, or your child in general, period. No parent wants to almost lose a child, but lose a child. It teaches you to learn how to experience and be in the experience of life. It teaches you to learn how to make memories and learn how to find the good. You have to, because there's way too much bad to focus on it, and you would be miserable and not enjoy whatever time you do have left. And I'm not interested in doing that, and neither are my children. So we do the best we can to just find happiness, no matter how many shoes drop, no matter how bad it gets. And if we need a moment to cry in that moment and say, this is crazy, I can't do this, we take a moment and do that. We just don't stay there. We just don't stay there. We take a moment to be in our feelings, because feelings are just that, feelings. They come and they go, they change. Like, they're not permanent, they're not consistent. Their feelings, they change. Like, I remember hearing somebody make a reference to feelings being like that movie in Inside Out, where there's sadness, anger, anxiety, depression. Like, who gave us that? Where did that come from? They're just feelings, and you don't always feel like that. You're not always angry, you're not always happy, you're not always sad. They fluctuate. It's up and down. They're situational and seasonal. So if they're situational and seasonal, why would I always be angry about the circumstances surrounding what's going on in my life? I just feel like that doesn't make sense, because feelings are way too situational and they're way too flexible. I would rather take the energy it takes in being happy, because it takes less energy, in finding the good and not focusing on whatever that report is from the doctor. Yeah, it might have been bad, but I don't have to focus on it or even believe in it. I can do the best that I can to do whatever I have to, or whatever I must, to live the best, healthiest, happiest life that I can, my way. And my way might not be your way. My way not your way might not be my way. Just like my daughter's way might not be my way. You know what I mean? So just figuring this thing for life out is definitely different, and definitely, interesting. But I feel like, we're all in this together, and I feel like we just need to be more understanding towards one another and what each other's got going on, because everybody is going through something, going through a situation or going through something. It's not perfect for everyone. And people that are where it is, maybe close to perfect, or they are happy or whatever, that is wonderful for them. And I feel like we should be happy for them. Why not be happy? Why should everybody, go through hard times or struggle? Like, I don't believe we're meant to do that. So I'm not interested. There's joy in being happy for someone else. And you never know, just being happy for someone else could bring you happiness and change your situation. You never know. So that's why it's important to just figure out how to be happy. And I'm not saying it's always going to be like that. You might have some moments where you ain't. Just be in that moment and don't stay there. Like, don't allow yourself to stay there. Just figure it out the best way you can. Because it definitely, it definitely can be rough and frustrating. Because trust, when you have like everything on your plate, you're the main parent and you're the one doing everything. Like, it's rough. You got to make all decisions. When your kid is sick and it's major decisions, and you're the one that has to make all those decisions. It's rough. Okay, it's rough. You're the one that has to come up with an answer. You have to like figure it out. You have to figure out, like, is this best, or what is best for that child, and understand whatever decision you make, there could be an adverse consequence to that decision, but you really just got to hope and pray for the best. Um, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. And it's already hard enough to do it as a regular healthy parent. Parenting is hard, period. And anybody that says it's easy is definitely absolutely crazy. And they're lying. That is not true. Parenting is hard, and it's levels to parenting and stages to parenting. There's different ages and different stages. And each set of age comes with a new stage that you embrace as your child gets older. And it doesn't matter if they're adult, they're always your child. If you gave birth to them or you had them and you're their parent, mom and dad, they're always your child no matter how old they are. Because I'm going to tell you, I'm always going to be my mom's daughter and my dad's daughter. Like, I'm always going to be their baby. That's what it is. And I'm okay with that. Meaning my parents can sometimes be overbearing, but they're parents. They just love me and want the best for me. And I understand how that feels. Now, being a parent and a grandparent, I see and I get it. And I understand it and respect it. And respect it for my children. So, I want to be the best that I can for them. I wasn't always perfect. I didn't cross every I. No, cross every T, dot every I is what they say. I didn't do all that. I messed up, lots of times. I fumbled the ball and had to learn from my mistakes being a young parent and coming from different things in parenting. I had to learn, you know, and cause some trauma and some issues for my kids that I had to apologize for and sometimes still have to until they're past that trauma and work through it. So I've learned that. I've learned I want to be the example that I want for myself to my kids. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to put it into action. And so that's what I do. So when me and my kids do have those tough conversations, I can lay on the table like, hey, but look, we had this conversation and this happened. And I've been doing this by my action, not just by telling you. I've been doing this by doing this. And I can give them different examples of my actions on my words matching them. And they can come back and say, yeah, Mom, you're right. You're right. And we can figure out a way where we can both come to a common ground of mutual respect. So, and it's taken a lot of years and a lot of hard work for us to get to that point in our relationship. We didn't just arrive there. It was hard work and effort. And we still sometimes fight and argue like any other family. But we have just decided that life is too short to harbor it and that we don't want to keep it. We would rather just work through it and talk through it so that it's like we don't want to go to bed angry. We don't want to sleep on that because you might not wake up the next day, and then what? Because we buried a loved one with that, and it always makes you feel like you did something wrong, or did they know? You carry that. Did they know that I still love them even though we were fighting? So we don't want that because we've all experienced me and my children have experienced close personal death, young and old. So we've decided through our grieving process that we don't want to do that. So we want to be able to respect each other's boundaries. So that's what we do. Um, Needless to say, I said all of this whole entire vlog experience to say, man, parenting is hard. It's very, very hard, whether you have a regular child or a sick child. It's hard. It is not easy being a parent. And I feel like if you do have a sick child, it's harder. It's most definitely harder because everyone does not teach their children or each other how to have respect for others that are not sick. And I'm not saying that the sick is super needy or all of them are super needy, or the little comments that people say like they always need help, don't nobody always want to help them, or different things like that. Oh, well, I don't want to invite them because that comes with, we got to wait for them to do this and we got to do that. That stuff is just not right, because if it was you in that position, you would want somebody to show you compassion and love. So remember, you want to be compassionate because you never know at what age or what day that you will be in that position, because we will all be there at some point. From the young to the old, we will all be there, and that's a promise. Because you age, and as you age, your body changes, it digresses. No matter what you do, everyone, that's life. That's why there's life and death. That's why there's birth and death. Follow the science. Duh. But not even just following the science. I'm a biblical person. I believe in the Bible. I follow the Bible. So that's me. You do you, I do me. Anyways, um, but I prayerfully hope you come to know Jesus is in the free pardons of your sin and get to know him and come from where you are. But that's your choice. No pressure. He gives us all freedom. I've made my choice. I'm not forcing you. Don't force me. Anyways, on to the next. That's where I'm at with that. But anyways, I don't know. I feel like if we all teach each other to have mutual respect and not be rude, like if they see a young kid in a wheelchair or a teenager in a wheelchair and you don't openly see exactly what's going on, whispering or making little comments, or if you see a young adult having to use a motorized scooter, they're using that for a reason. Everybody is not just using it to use it. You may not know the mental anguish that they went through to even get themselves to be at that point, that they even had to use it at that age, because they may feel the same way you do. Well, why are they in there? They feel like, why do they have to get in there as well? But because of their health, they must do it. But the whispers and the stares and the comments that people make, it can be harsh and hurtful to people. So I feel like, us as a whole, that's something that we need to work on. We need to work on being willing to have communities that are willing to support. Everybody may not have to do it, but if we created and built communities to be able to develop support groups or support help for people with disabilities to have support, and the ones that don't even have family to do it, maybe there's a community of single people that want to give back and want to help, that you can start a community to help those type of people so that they can still enjoy things like movies and going shopping and traveling and be okay without people giving them dirty looks and different things like that because they can't outward see their condition. You know, those are things that I just really want us to work on the world and get better on, and things that I have concern for my adult disabled daughter being out here in this world, because this world is cold and it's ugly. But that doesn't mean that we can't change and get better. Anything can change and get better. It just has to want to, and there has to be enough people to want to do better and to want to see change and not just talk about it, but come together and put some action in place and actually do it. And it doesn't have to be, well, let's just start it over here in Pennsylvania. No, why can't it be done as a community all over the world? Why does it have to be in one state where we can figure out how to build something to come together? The government built all this in 52 states, where the government applies the same way it applies in all these different 52 states. They might have different rules that may be a little bit different, but for the most part, the government is the government, strong and mighty, not playing no games, and we don't fool with them. So why can't we build a community like that for disableds? So people who don't want to deal with or don't want to help don't have to be like that, or don't have to help. But those people who do, we can make a community where we can connect them to come together and make a centralized area in that state to bring people together to help. I don't see why we can't do that. So, I'm just hoping we can come up with a better world to, be able to do something like that. So there's hope for people like my children and, my future children, and even people like me or elder people or whatever. So, that's what I'm hoping. But yeah, there's that. So welcome to the first episode of, what we gonna call this? Mom Sick Chronicles. And expressing how I feel about the world being discriminatory towards it, and just sharing my story with how, we came to be and how we came to deal with chronic illnesses. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. So as I come on here, you'll see me having more episodes where, I'll talk about, different situations on where I went and what my experience was in that situation. Like I'll kind of review the appointment, or the trip. Like I took a trip for my 40th birthday, so we'll go over that, and I'll kind of probably do a review. I'll show some videos and probably do a review of what my experience was like with being